each one of them a treasure, but they must be sold to gain the pearl. Nothing must stop him now. Some things had sentimental value to him. Yesterday he would never have parted with them. They were part of his life. But these things seemed like trinkets compared to the pearl. He knew the value of these things, and he knew the value of the pearl. There was no comparison. Beyond the thrill of the pearl itself, he knew what it was worth. And to stop now would be madness. At last, everything had gone. But the great pearl would be his. It cost him far more than he had expected, but the pearl itself was more than he had imagined, and the price hardly seemed to matter. This is what he had looked for all his life, and it was worth more than he had paid. He was delighted. The great pearl belonged to him. This, said Jesus, this merchant finding a pearl, or the farmer finding a treasure, is like the kingdom of heaven. It is beyond comparison. It is worth everything you have and more.
So, who paid more? The farm worker or the merchant? Well, in one sense, they paid exactly the same. It cost them all they had. And they were glad to do it. So what is this kingdom of heaven or kingdom of God represented by the treasure and the pearl? More than anything else, it means the sovereign rule of God, both now and in the future, in this life and in the life to come. For the person who is a follower of Jesus Christ, the sheer joy of being in the will of God and experiencing the control of God is far more important than anything else. And after all, what's the alternative? As Jesus himself said, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? One of the most famous short stories in the world is the parable of the lost son, the prodigal son, told by Jesus Christ in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15. But who is the story really about? Well, watch it for yourself and see what you think.
The ministry of Jesus had brought many people to God, and among them were people who were regarded as sinners. The Pharisees began to criticize him. These sinners are unclean in the sight of God, and you actually welcome them. An argument with the Pharisees would have achieved nothing. So Jesus responded with a story about a father and two sons. The family lived in a village, but they were not poor. The land they owned had been handed down for generations. And it was a great blessing to have two sons. These men would carry their father's name, they would maintain his honor, and they would inherit his land. But the younger son was not satisfied. He demanded his inheritance right now, while the old man was still alive. This was shocking. He had insulted his father and his brother and his whole family. To the older brother, the land was the work of all his ancestors. To the younger son, it was just cash. His father understood the meaning exactly. I just wish you were dead. I want to sell your property. Amazingly, the father allowed him to do it. Now the young man had cash and plenty of it. He wanted to be free. Free to do just what he wanted. Free from what his father said was right and wrong. Free from everything. Nothing would change his mind. He left his family and his village. He left the land God had given to his ancestors, the land of promise. He knew he had deeply offended his community. The people of the village would never forgive him, never. From now on, there was no going back. He had rejected them, and they had rejected him. Most of all, he had hurt his family. But the father knew that to hold the young man against his will was pointless. He was not just moving to the nearest town, where his father might come and find him and try to bring him back. He was leaving behind everything he and his family had ever known. He was determined to get completely clear of his father's influence. The journey ahead of him was going to take some time, and it was not without danger. But he would go on and hope for the best. He travelled for many days until his homeland lay far behind him, and ahead of him was a new country where everything would be different. That was what he wanted. At last he arrived in a city where the people and laws and customs were very different from his own. But one thing was the same in the Gentile city. People had to eat, and that meant a bakery. But how was he to know how much things cost in a place like this? The fact was, he had no idea. He had plenty of money from the sale of his father's land, and no real idea of value. As an immigrant in a foreign country, he was extremely vulnerable, and he had no friends at all. If he wanted to be accepted here, he must learn to fit in. The clothes he wore in the village would not do in the big city. To start with, he must look right. After that, he would find a place where he could have some fun. Life would be exciting, and he would enjoy it every day. These people believed in many gods, and for many gods they had many temples. They thought that life was controlled by fate. They believed in good luck and bad luck and astrology. So in the temples they made offerings to the gods, hoping to win their favor. The young Jewish farmer had been brought up to know better than this, so perhaps he should keep quiet about religion. In a city like this, there was always something to see. New sights, new sounds, new ideas. Compared to his life in the village, this was a whole new world, and he was eager to see and hear all of it. Many cities in the Roman Empire boasted of their amphitheaters and the fights they sponsored for the public. His father would have thought them disgusting, but these people seemed to enjoy them. Some gladiators were professionals, but most of them were slaves who lived only a few weeks after training. This was a society which cared nothing for the value of human life, where one man's murder was another man's entertainment. People enjoyed watching violence. Human beings could be bought and sold like cattle. All a gladiator could hope for was to put up a good performance and hope to live until the next fight. Entertainment, parties, living high. It just went on and on. The food he was eating was forbidden in a Jewish house, but his Gentile friends seemed to enjoy it, and there was always a cup of wine to wash it down. They didn't have parties like this in the village. It all felt so good. Far away from his father and his older brother, he could do just what he wanted. He was having a good time, always plenty of friends, ready and willing to party with, so long as he was paying all the bills. Life in the city was exciting, and the young man thought he was enjoying it to the full. His lifestyle was extravagant. The weeks and months went by, and he was spending his money as if it would last forever. It never seemed to enter his head that half of everything his father had worked for was being wasted, and there was nothing to take its place. That one day everything would change. One day there would be no more